Good morning, students. I welcome you to this today's session on an astrologer's day written by a well-known Indian writer in English, R.K. Narayan. R.K. Narayan is a household name. Everybody knows about R.K. Narayan in India, right from children to elders. He has written a number of short stories and novels in English. R.K. Narayan's greatness lies in winning the reader's attention by projecting a common human situation in a very humorous way. The sense of humor that is found in his narration draws everybody's attention. So he is a very popular Indian writer in English, and we have a trio of Indian writers in English: R.K. Narayan, Mulk Anand, and Raja Rao. These three are said to be trio of Indian writers, and because they have come to limelight with a number of novels, short stories, and essays, and they have also presented the Indian scenario. They include Indian culture, Indian traditions, Indian interests, hobbies, places, and various other aspects of India. And it is they who have known our culture, traditions, and interests, hobbies to the people across the globe. And we, it's time for us to appreciate. I cannot resist my temptation to appreciate. Of course, I don't deserve to appreciate such a great man, but they have won a special place in the hearts and minds of readers all over the world. And I am one of the, I stand in the forefront as a great lover of R.K. Narayan. So, in my students, in my earlier class, I gave you a very brief account of the story of an astrologer's day. It is such an interesting story that I just explained the summary in the last class. But as students, you're supposed to go deep into the text of the lesson. On one point of view, we enjoy the language of R.K. Narayan, the kind of vocabulary used by R.K. Narayan, and the kind of narration he presents in his short stories, and to develop our own writing skills, reading skills, and the very purpose of reading. We seek pleasure in reading something. Reading is meant for pleasure and enlightenment. That's these are all other additional inputs which we have to learn, of course. So keeping all these things, and one more important point is you also have comprehension passages in your semester and examinations. Of course, whether the comprehension exercise is part of your examination or not, to develop our reading skills, we are supposed to go deep into the text, keeping all these requirements. And today, since it is prescribed for you, I would like to share and explain, analyze the text of an astrologer's day, which is a continuation to my earlier session. I explained you the summary, and let's go deep into the text line by line or paragraph by paragraph so that you will get a detailed account of as to what the story is, and you will enjoy how it is. Students, go through this text for a while. Now, I will read it for you. Punctually at midday, he opened his bag and spread out his professional equipment, which consisted of a dozen cowrie shells, a square piece of cloth, an obscure mystic chart on it, a notebook, and a bundle of Palmyra writing. His forehead was resplendent with sacred ash and vermilion, and his eyes sparkled with a sharp, abnormal gleam, which was really an outcome of a continual searching for customers, but which his simple clients took to be a prophetic light and felt comforted. And if we look at this paragraph, there are some words which are underlined here to make you understand. So, while reading something, any English passage, we have to keep in mind that vocabulary plays a very important role. Unless you understand the meanings of the words, you cannot comprehend as to what it means and what the author means. That is one aspect. And sometimes what happens, we know the meaning of the words based on the context, of course. And some other times, we fail to understand. And the context does not allow us to understand what it means. So that's how, to make all these things clear, I have underlined these words. Hope you understand the meaning of a few words. And I am also here to explain you what they mean in course of our discussion. And I also gave you a list of all these words, underlined words, titled as glossary. You can also have a look at them and understand. I will also explain the meaning now here, since the context demands. Punctually at midday, he opened his bag and spread out his professional equipment. So here, he refers to, hope you understand who he is here. Punctually, the word punctually is capitalized here. It's written in capital letters. What does it indicate? It has got its own emphasis. He was very punctual. The astrologer, he refers to the astrologer here. And he was very punctual. Every day at midday, 12 o'clock, he used to open his bag and spread out his professional equipment. What is his profession? His profession is astrology now. He opened his professional equipment. He has got his own equipment. A lot of things will be there. Every astrologer has got his own equipment, his own material, his own things to be shown to others. And he used to open his bag by spreading out all his equipment. And what the equipment consists, Arkanarayan also makes a mention about the equipment here, which consisted here means which has a dozen cowrie shells. Shells, you know, perhaps. Shells, cowrie shells. A square piece of cloth, a square shaped a piece of cloth is there with him, with obscure mystic thoughts on it. Astrologer, I explained you the meaning of astrologer in my last class. An astrologer is one who predicts or foretells or what's going to happen in future on the basis of the lines on the hands or by just studying our own face or something like that. And by studying the stars, planets and all these kinds of things, people will be able to tell about our own future. So this is what is called prediction, foretelling, and astrologer is one such one. And there's a square-shaped piece of cloth with him. And he spread out his square-shaped piece of cloth and he started spreading his own equipment, normal equipment, which has a dozen, 12 cowrie shells and obscure mystic charts. He has got some charts, mystic charts in the sense by showing something on the chart, spiritual paths. Obscure means spiritual, mysterious paths. And a notebook. He also has a notebook and a bundle of Palmyra writing. Hope you know what Palmyra writing is. A kind of old ancient writing astrologers usually have this kind of palmyra writings. Palmyra leaves. Palmyra is nothing but leaves. If you happen to see old movies, you find, or you, even if you happen to see what Ramayana, Mahabharata, the saints used to write, we find some writings, scriptures on leaves. In olden days, they used to write on leaves only. They are Palmyra writings. And his forehead was resplendent with sacred ash and vermilion. Appearance, complexion of the astrologer is also explained here. Forehead, you know what a forehead is. The part between two eyes is said to be above the eyes. Part above the eyes is said to be forehead. And Indian traditions, I have already told you, R.K. Narayan tries to project Indian traditions and culture through his writings. And if we just look at a paragraph, we can understand how their traditions are. His forehead was very bright, resplendent in a sense, very bright, with sacred ash and vermilion. But as you know, sacred ash is said to be a very holy one. You might have seen Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva's forehead is, we have lines of sacred ash. It's a sacred, it has got its own sanctity. And vermilion, wearing a vermilion mark on the forehead is an Indian tradition. You find any Hindu lady, Hindu woman, we find a vermilion mark on their forehead. And if it carries a lot of meaning, traditional, cultural meaning in India, because vermilion mark is found only on the foreheads of women who are married. And if their husbands happen to pass away, we don't find a vermilion mark. Of course, in modern days, even these divorcees or the widows, briefly to say, widows, it is said to be widows. Widows are not supposed to wear a vermilion mark on their forehead. It shows their honor towards their own husband. You can observe a number of old people whose husbands are dead. They don't wear any kind of vermilion mark on their forehead. But now, with the advancement of feminist theory, it is all it is no more in existence. Of course, it is all it has disappeared nowadays. Wearing a vermilion mark is an Indian tradition, Hindu tradition. And one more thing is, even Indian men also wear vermilion mark. Wearing vermilion mark, vermilion is nothing but a red colored thing, kumkum. You might have seen. A number of men also wear vermilion mark out of their regard to God, out of their regard to the traditions or something like that. They think that putting a vermilion mark on their forehead is a sacred thing. Ash and vermilion mark. So, as usually, this astrologer has sacred ash and vermilion mark on his forehead, and he was very bright. And his eyes sparkled with a sharp, abnormal gleam. His eyes are also very bright, sparkled in the sense very bright. Sharp, abnormal gleam, a kind of shining is there on his own face itself, which was really an outcome of a continual searching for customers. Look at the language used by R.K. Narayan. And the way he was looking, the eyes catch others' attention. Eye contact is also very important. People talk about eye contact in soft skills. And he has got such a very bright eye contact, and it seemed as if he was searching for the customers by sitting at midday and spreading out his palmyra leaves, spreading out his professional equipment, but which his simple client took to be prophetic light and felt comforted. So here, the way he was sitting there, the location he has opted, and the equipment he has, on his square piece of cloth, the complexion he has. So his complexion, the equipment, the location, all these things, his appearance, all these things create an impression on the clients that he has got some prophetic powers. Prophetic in the sense, prophecy, prophetic. Prophetic is an adjective form, prophecy is a noun. It's a system of foretelling what is going to happen. So this is something about our astrologer. And look at the continuation of the text. The power of his eyes was considerably enhanced by their position and placed as they were between the painted forehead and the dark whiskers which streamed down his cheeks. The power of his eyes, there's a gleam in the power, there's a gleam in his eyes, there's a brightness in his eyes, and the brightness of his eyes is enhanced or increased by their position, placed as they were between the painted forehead and the dark whiskers which streamed down his cheeks. He has got very long whiskers, and they were downwards his cheeks, and his painted forehead with vermilion mark and sacred ash. All these things have enhanced. They have added something more to his mystic powers. Even a half-wit's eyes would sparkle in such a setting. Even a half-wit's man can easily understand, shine with this kind of complexion, with this kind of appearance. Anybody can understand, anybody can catch, understand, grasp as to what powers he has got based on the appearance he has, complexion he has. To crown the effect, how beautiful the expression is. To crown the effect, he wore a saffron-colored turban around his head. Crown in the sense, kings have a crown on their heads. It's a mark of honor. Look at the figurative usage of crown here. This is what we have to enjoy. To crown the effect, crown is used as a noun here. To crown the verb here, sorry. To crown the effect, he wound a saffron-colored turban around his head. We find, you might have seen a number of saints, sadhus. Sadhus have saffron-colored turbans on their foreheads. Turban is something which is worn on their forehead, a folded towel, folded something like that. He has got a saffron-colored turban on his forehead, and it is almost like a crown. It's almost like a crown, to crown the effect. It's looking like a crown, and it has added to his own features, physical features. So this is how this color scheme never failed. Color scheme in the sense saffron colored. Saffron saints, sadhus wear saffron colored and colored ones. This color never failed at all. He was very specific about the color he had chosen because he wants to win the impression of the customers. People were attracted to him as bees are attracted cosmos or dahlia stalks. Look at the comparison. He has made a simile here. Comparison. Writers make use of a number of comparisons. They make use of a number of elegies also in poems. This comparison, this simile adds beauty to the language. People were attracted towards, number of customers were drawn towards him, impressed by his appearance, complexion. And as bees are attracted towards cosmos, universe, and dahlia stalks, sweet. You might have seen how bees are attracted towards the piles of things you might have observed outside. And dahlia is a kind of plant, and it might be something attractive, sweet, flavor. It may have flavor. And as bees are attracted towards dahlia stalks, and here customers are being compared to bees here. Look at the comparison. Customers are attracted towards this astrologer as bees are attracted towards these dahlia stalks in the universe. So this is the comparison made by Arkenaren, a very beautiful, interesting comparison. He sat under the buffs of a spreading tamarind tree, which flanked a path running through the town hall park. The location, look at the location he had chosen. In the second paragraph, Arkenaren has added more details to his location. He was sitting under the branches, buffs in the sense branches, of a spreading tamarind tree. You know what a tamarind tree is. We also have tamarind pickle in our houses. Tamarind is a household name. If we visit villages, in every house we find a tamarind tree. It's a very common thing, of course. Of course, in cities we don't find, but tamarind tree, which is a bit sharp in taste, is a common sight in villages and houses. And he had chosen a very interesting place, that is the tamarind tree, the shade of a tamarind tree. Sat under the tamarind tree at midday, and which flanked a path. There's a path through that shade of the tree running through the town hall park. There's a path. Usually, unless there's a path, there's no meaning in choosing the location. And he had chosen such a very beautiful place that a number of people walked through that passage where he was sitting, because there's a path which is leading towards the town hall park in the town. It was a remarkable place in many ways. So there are many reasons. There are many reasons for choosing that particular path. Remarkable place, a wonderful place. In many ways, there are many reasons for that. In many ways, it can be said to be a remarkable, wonderful place, because the details are added here. A surging crowd, emerging crowd. Surging means coming out. A number of crowds are seen here because it's a very busy place. Passage of people, a number of people pass through that passage. Was always moving up and down this narrow road morning till night. It is such a very busy place that a number of people are found seen moving down this narrow road from dawn to dusk, from morning to evening. A variety of trades and occupations was represented all along its way. You know, we find a number of pavement dwellers. We find a number of vendors, pavement vendors, beside the roads, in busy roads. You see, you go to any city like Hyderabad, Warangal, or any city for that matter, and wherever there is a very busy road, we find a number of vendors. They'll be selling various other things. They try to draw the attention of customers by shouting and speaking something. And this is how a variety of trades and occupations was represented all along its way. Business activity, a number of various kinds of business activity is going on there through this path. They include here a list of things is shown here as to what kind of business people are there. Medicine sellers, sellers of stolen hardware and junk. Stolen hardware. People, thieves steal something, they sell to somebody else, and they are being sold in the market. By choosing a very special place like this, we find medical shops there, medicine sellers in the sense, pharmacists, medical shops, hardware and junk, and hardware people selling various kinds of things, and magicians. We also find magicians. They are also magician is also a kind of professional. We know what a magician is, who makes all kinds of tricks and draws the attention of the customers. And above all, an auctioneer. Auction, you might have seen in cities, in some places, they'll be displaying various kinds of items and shouting. They'll be calling for a bid and they'll be selling cloth. Whoever quotes the lowest quote, he'll be given that particular thing. And he's said to be a kind of businessman who goes for auctioning. Means a cloth or something like that doesn't have a fixed price. Based on the, he will announce there based on the highest bid. Whoever is ready to take for the highest price, he'll be selling it. Auctioneer. We go for auction of clothes, auction of houses, auction of various other things in the market. And here, there is an auctioneer. He is also a seller of cheap cloth who created enough din all day to attract the whole town. Since the auctioneer will be shouting always, because he has to shout, tell the price and draw the attention. And he created all din, confusion, lot of talk there all day to attract the whole town. Next to the auctioneer, vociferousness came a vendor of fried groundnut vendors, who gave his wear a fancy name each day. Look at the expressions, beautiful language used by R. K. Narayan here. And there's a groundnut vendor, Pali. We find groundnut vendors in trains and near bus stations, bus stands, who gave his wear a fancy name each day. Each day, this groundnut vendor was giving it a different name. And some days he was calling it Bombay ice cream one day. And on the next day, he was calling it as Delhi almond. And on the third day, Raja's delicacy. Look at the beautiful expressions given by the groundnut vendors. Each day it is taking its own name. Bombay ice cream and Delhi almond, Raja's delicacy, and so on and so forth. And we know drawing the attention of the customers requires a lot of art. It is also a great art. And business people especially, vendors especially, they know the pulse of the people. They know the psychology of the customers. Based on the psychology, how to attract, draw their attention, they make use of all these kinds of tricks. And here also, this groundnut vendor made use of different names for his own groundnut, like Bombay ice cream and Delhi almond, Raja's delicacy, and various other things, of course, which cannot be included here. And naturally, by listening to such kind of various kinds of names, people are attracted, flocked towards him, gathered, grounded, grouped towards him. Flock means group. A considerable portion of this crowd dallied before the astrologer too. I have already explained that the astrologer also has chosen this particular place because since there is a lot of hustle and bustle, very busy place. A lot of people are seen here, crowds are seen here. This is what is required for him also, because his profession is to draw the attention and win some, earn some money. And this considerable portion of this crowd, these kinds of people, crowds of people, groups of people, they were dallied, moving here and there, even for the astrologer also. The customers who were there to buy other things were also useful to him. Meanwhile, they are also likely to be attracted towards him and win his impression. The astrologer transacted his business by the light of a flare which crackled and smoked up above the groundnut heap nearby. This is the greatness of a writer. So we should not just focus on the story itself. Story can be explained within a paragraph, of course, but that is not the end of reading something. That is not the real intention of reading comprehension actually. Look at the beautiful language used by the writers. This is by reading such paragraphs, stanzas only, we enrich our language. Here, look at the expressions used by R.K. Narayan. Each and every line has got its own beauty. The astrologer transacted his business by the light of a flare. He doesn't have a specific light of his own. The light or the smoke, a groundnut vendor has got his own heap. A heap of groundnut is there. He has got his own stuff. He has got his own light. And groundnut is being fried there. The light that was emerging from the groundnut vendor was used by the astrologer also. Whenever it was dark, that was enough for him. He doesn't have any kind of separate light of his own to exhibit his professional equipment. And look at the continuation. Half the enchantment of the place was due to the fact that it did not have the benefit of municipal lighting. Half of the enchantment means attract. Half of the attraction of the place was because of the fact that it did not have the benefit of municipal lighting. There was no need of a municipal lighting at all here, because groundnut vendors were there, various other pharmacist shop is there, hardware shop is there, auctioneer is there. All these people have their own lighting, and there was no need for a separate municipal lighting at all. Half of the attraction which was given to that place was due to the fact, this fact only, because of even they did not require any kind of municipal lighting at all. Enough light was there. The place was lit up by shop lights. The light that was emerging from the shops was also there. One or two had hissing gas lights. As traders, various kinds of vendors are there. One or two vendors also had gas lights, and light was also coming from shops, and some had naked flares stuck on poles. To the electric poles also they had some lighting. Some were lit up by old cycle lamps. Moving cycle lamps also added to this lighting. And one or two, like the astrologers, managed without lights of their own. There was no need for the astrologer to have his own light, because other traders, other vendors were making use of their own means of light, and their light was enough for him. By making use of others' light, he was trying to transact his own business. It was a bewildering crisscross of light rays and moving shadows. As I explained earlier, it was a busy place. Various people, kinds of people were walking through these patches towards the town hall park, and every crisscross of light rays, moving vehicles, cycles, bicycles, and these vendors' light, all these kinds of things. And fixed lighting is not there. This moving light, moving shadows, light that was coming from the moving vehicles was also has also been added to this light. So this suited the astrologer well, for the simple reason that he had not in the least happened to be an astrologer when he began life. So look at the thing here, irony here. The irony here is the astrologer, this particular astrologer who is the main character of the story, has not chosen his life as an astrologer. He was not basically an astrologer at all. And for the simple reason that he had not in the least intended to be an astrologer when he began his life. Basically, he was not said to be an astrologer, but he was forced to become an astrologer. This is what we have to understand. He has not chosen this astrologer, the profession of astrology, out of his own interest, but by chance. accidentally he became an astrologer. And he knew no more of what was going to happen to others than he knew what was going to happen to himself next minute. Look at the beautiful thing. It's made clear here by the author R.K. Narayan. And he himself doesn't have any kind of idea about his own future. When he himself cannot tell anything about his own future, but he is there transacting business, had chosen the profession of astrology to tell about the future of others, prediction of others. So this is one interesting thing, and how he deals with the business and how he wins a place in the hearts of clients and how he becomes successful with this profession. We can understand all these kinds of things. So this particular astrologer chosen by R.K. Narayan was not intended to be an astrologer when he started his life. He was, by chance, he became an astrologer, but basically he was not an astrologer. See, the interesting thing here, irony here, even without knowing anything, without any knowledge of astrology, now he is here to tell something about the future of others, see whether he is going to become successful or a failure. If we go through the text further, we can understand. He was as much a stranger to the stars as were his innocent customers. Generally, astrologers, a professional astrologer, of course, a professional, an astrologer who has chosen this profession out of his own interest and out of his own study, is said to have studied the movement of stars. Based on the movement of stars only they predict our future. But this astrologer in this story, he was as much a stranger to the stars. He has no knowledge about the study of stars at all, as were his innocent customers. Here, look at the comparison. He is quite ignorant about the study of stars. And the customers are also quite innocent. They too have no idea. They are also quite ignorant about the study of this astrologer. Just by looking at his complexion, his appearance, they are drawn towards him. Yet, he said things which pleased with and astonished everyone. You know, dear students, what is required for business? Talking impressively, winning their hearts, speaking in a very humorous manner, impressive manner is important for a businessman. That plays a very crucial role in business. Though he is not basically an astrologer, and though he had chosen this profession by chance, accidentally, he was able to please the customers and astonish everyone. Astonish here implies surprised. He surprised with the mode of telling here. Everybody was surprised with this narration, and that was more a matter of study, practice, and shrewd guesswork. Just by guessing something and studying something, studying the psychology of the others, and through practice, he has become successful, though basically he is not an astrologer. All the same, it was as much an honest man's labor as any other, and he deserved the wages he carried home at the end of the day. And dear students, you know, the very intention of a trader, vendor, businessman is to earn something. And by some means, by adopting some technique, and by drawing the attention of the customers, clients, they have to earn some money. That is the primary motto of any trader or a businessman or a vendor. It was as much an honest man's labor as any other. And he's working hard there. He's working hard there. Whether he's truthful to himself or not, that is quite immaterial. But he's working hard. And whatever income, whatever money he earns through this means, through this profession, and he deserves it because it is his own hard-earned amount. It is the sweat of his own brow. He had left his village without any previous thought or plan, without any kind of previous earlier plan. He was forced to leave, give up his own village, leave his village, and choose this profession and sit here and work as an astrologer. If he had continued there, he would have carried on the work of his forefathers, namely tilling the land, living, marrying, and ripening in his cornfield. By force, he was urged to choose the profession of astrology, and had he continued there itself in his native place, original dwelling place, he would have carried on the work of his own forefathers, profession of forefathers, that is, as a farmer, as an agriculturer. He might have been tilling the land, cultivating the land, and living there by getting married to somebody else and ripening in his cornfield, growing something, reaping, harvest, all these things. This would have been his usual profession if he had not chosen this profession by force. This is what happened. But things are not in our hands, of course. Sometimes unexpected things happen, and to escape from some unexpected things, because of some unforeseen situations, we'll be forced to change our own professions. This is what happened in the life of this astrologer also. And if he had continued here, there, he would have carried on the work of his forefathers, namely tilling the land, living, marrying, ripening in his cornfield, an ancestral home. He would also have lived there in his own ancestral means related to forefathers, his own parents and grandparents, great grandparents, something like that. It is called ancestral home. He would have lived there by choosing the profession of his own forefathers, that is agriculture, farming, cultivation, and by living in the ancestral forefathers' house there itself. But things were contrary to his expectations. Something happened. You can guess. But that was not to be. It didn't happen. If he had lived there, he would have become a farmer. He would have been a farmer. But it was not to be. He had to leave home without telling anyone. Imagine. This astrologer was forced to leave without telling anyone. Without telling anyone, without passing on the information, he left the village. It implies that something unexpected, unprecedented incident happened in his life that made him leave the village unexpectedly. And he could not rest till he left it behind a couple of 100 miles because of some unprecedented incident. He's without informing anyone, without passing on any information to anyone. He just started leaving his village and walked and walked and walked hundreds of miles and came to this place, and now he's an astrologer. To a villager, it's a great deal. Walking hundreds of miles, coming from a village, a rural background, without any kind of knowledge about the cities. You know, the mode of style of living in urban areas is entirely different from rural areas. But this man coming from a village, who is supposed to be a farmer, having cultivated his land, now chose the profession of an astrology, and now he's here drawing the clients and earning his own wages. It's not a simple thing. It's a great deal for an ordinary man like this astrologer. As if an ocean flowed between. He walked hundreds of miles. Walking hundreds of miles is not an easy thing. It's a very difficult task actually. He has undertaken that task, and as if an ocean flowed between. An ocean flowed between in the sense the place where he's living now and the place where he used to live in his village. Walked hundreds of miles. Ocean of distance is there. But he could walk all this distance. Didn't bother. It was the conditions that made him, the situation made him do all these things. He had a working analysis of man's troubles. Now, after having explained why he left his village, reasons are not shown there, of course, but a hint is given by R.K. Narayan that why he chose the profession. A hint, because no writer directly explains the reasons. It's not like an essay. They keep us guessing something as to something happened in his life. As to what happened, we'll come to know by the end of the story. They keep us guessing. That makes us read, go further. That is the greatness of writers. This is a great art. And this astrologer had a working analysis of mankind's troubles. An astrologer studies the planets and stars and predicts something, foretell something. Analysis, they are supposed to make an analysis of the clients. They include maybe about marriage, money, ancestral of human ties, various other things. We expect many things from astrologers. We expect something to know something about our own marriage, something about our own prospect, financial prospects, properties or something like that, and ancestral human relations, forefathers relations, bonding, all these things we expect from the astrologers. Long practice had sharpened his perception. So practice, makes a man perfect. Though, as I have just explained, he has no knowledge of astrology, he has no knowledge of study of stars or anything at all. But by practice, through practice, he has become a very intelligent person, and long practice had also sharpened his own perception ideas about astrology. Within 5 minutes, he understood what was wrong. It didn't take much time for him. Within 5 minutes, he was able to understand what was wrong with the customer and what the customers expected. Whether he was able to convince the customer or not, it didn't take much time for him. He was able to study all these things within a short time. And he charged 3 pice per question, never opened his mouth till the other had spoken for at least 10 minutes. See the method adopted by this astrologer. He charges 3 pice per each question. Normally, when customers or clients visit an astrologer, they want to seek some information, maybe regarding their properties, regarding their marriage, regarding their assets, regarding their relationships, broken relationships, or something like that. They seek information. They want some answers for their disturbing questions. And here, normally, he charges 3 pice per question. See how clever he is. He is not in the habit of opening his own mouth till the other had spoken for at least 10 minutes. First, initially, he allows the customers to speak. When customers start speaking about themselves, about their own troubles, problems, hardships, and they are undergoing, after having listened to their narration, explanation, only then he opens his mouth, and based on the explanation, based on the narration given by the clients, then he starts telling something. So this is such a clever job, which provided him enough stuff for a dozen answers and advices. The others start speaking continuously for at least for 10 minutes. After having listened to them, it's not much difficult, of course. We'll get an idea as to what they are troubled with, what troubles them. So based on their explanation only, then that is enough for him. That is enough stuff. Their explanation is enough stuff for him to explain and tell anything and predict anything, foretell anything, advise anything. When he told the person before him, in many ways you are not getting the fullest results for your efforts. 9 out of 10 were disposed to agree with him. He's such a very clever astrologer. He's very clever. Though he's basically not an astrologer, he's very clever to impress the astrologers. In many ways, you are not getting the fullest results for your efforts. See the fun. It's an accepted thing, of course. But when it comes from the mouth of an astrologer, normally the customers are impressed. In many ways, fullest results won't be there for your efforts. It's an accepted truth, actually. It's a known fact. But when it is spoken by the astrologer, they're impressed, of course. 9 out of 10 were disposed to agree with him. 90% of people were impressed by this kind of answer. So this is how cleverly this astrologer was trying to win the hearts of the customers, and how he was able to convince them, answer their queries, and satisfy them with their to the fullest satisfaction of their own questions, their problems and hardships. So this is how the astrologer in this story was winning a place in the hearts and minds of all clients, and his location, the way he was telling, and all these kinds of things. So, dear students, there is a lot of more text in this unit. Let us go ahead with the other part of the text in the next session. And meanwhile, you can go through the text that I have already covered till now, and understand the meanings of the underlined words, and enjoy the language used by R.K. and various other things, because reading is meant for pleasure. Thank you for today's session.